Hello, students. Have you ever just looked around and noticed all the different kinds of work people do every day? From a farmer in a village to a teacher in your school? Well, today, we're going to learn all about this world of work. In economics, we have a special name for it, economic activities. Just think about your daily life. You see farmers in the fields, teachers in school, shopkeepers in the market, maybe your parents work in an office, or perhaps they work at home. The point is, people all around us are always busy doing some kind of work, aren't they? So that brings us to a very interesting question. On one hand, you have a farmer growing crops. On the other, a teacher in a classroom. And then a mother cooking a meal for her family. They all seem so different. But what do they have in common? Let's keep that question in mind as we go forward. To find the answer, here's what we are going to cover. First, we'll understand what economic activities really are. Then, we'll explore the three main groups, or sectors, they're divided into. We'll also look at the difference between work done for money and work done for ourselves. This will lead us to an important discussion on gender and the value of work. And finally, we'll put it all together in a summary. Okay, let's start with the most basic question. What exactly do we mean by economic activities? Well, in simple terms, economic activities are any actions that create goods, things we can touch, like food or clothes, or provide services, like transport or teaching. And here's the most important part. All these activities add value to our country's national income. You can think of national income as the total amount of money our entire country earns in a year. Now, there are so many different kinds of jobs. To make it easier to understand them, we can classify all this work into three main categories. We call these sectors. This picture gives us a good idea. At the top, you can see farming. That's part of the primary sector. In the middle, those factories represent the secondary sector. And at the bottom, the ship, which is a form of transport, belongs to the tertiary sector. Now, let's understand each one of these properly. So first up is the primary sector. The word primary means first, right? So this sector includes all activities that use natural resources directly from the earth. Things like agriculture and forestry, raising animals, which is animal husbandry, fishing and poultry farming, and even mining and quarrying, where we take minerals from the ground. It's all about what we get directly from nature. All right, so after we have the raw materials from the primary sector, what happens next? Well, that's where the secondary sector comes into the picture. This sector is all about manufacturing. It's where we take the raw materials and process them to create new, finished goods. A really simple example is taking cotton from the farm, and a factory then turns that cotton into cloth. That factory is an example of the secondary sector at work. And finally, we come to the third sector, which is the tertiary sector. This sector is also famously known as the service sector. Now, why is that? Because it doesn't produce any physical goods. Instead, it provides services that support the other two sectors and, of course, all of us. Just think about it. Trade, transport, banking, education, healthcare, all these are essential services that help our society function smoothly. Okay, so apart from these three sectors, there's another very interesting way to classify work, and it starts with a simple question. Is every kind of work that people do performed to earn money? The answer is no. We can divide activities into two types. On the left, we have market activities. This is any work done to earn a salary or to make a profit. Remember the story of Villis from your book? His mother sold fish in the market to earn money. That is a market activity. On the right, we have non-market activities. This is production for our own use for self-consumption. When Sakal's mother cooked food for her family, she wasn't paid for it. It was for the family to eat. That is a non-market activity. Now, this idea of market and non-market work leads us to a very, very important topic. It helps us understand how work has often been divided in society, especially between men and women, and it makes us think about how we value different types of work. Historically, and because of cultural traditions, there has often been a division of labor. Let's take the example of Sakal's family again. His father, Buddha, worked in the fields. That was a market activity to earn money. Meanwhile, his mother, Sheila, managed all the domestic chores, cooking, cleaning, and taking care of the children. These were all non-market activities. And this brings us to a crucial point. The household work done by women, because it is unpaid, is not officially counted or recognized when we calculate our national income. Just take a moment to think about that. So, This raises a very serious question. If this work is not being counted in the country's economy, does that mean it has no value at all? The answer is, of course, a big no. This household work, even though it is unpaid, is incredibly valuable. In fact, it's essential. It is the foundation that ensures the health, the education, and the well-being of the entire family. You could even say that this invisible work is what makes it possible for other family members to go out and perform their market activities. We've covered some very important ideas today. So let's do a quick summary to connect all the dots and make sure we remember the key points. So to recap, first, economic activities are all the different kinds of work that produce goods and services for our nation. Second, we can group this work into 3 sectors: primary, secondary, and tertiary. Third, we can also see work as either a market activity, which is done for pay, or a non-market activity, done for our own use. And fourth, and this is the most important takeaway, all of this work, both paid and unpaid, is absolutely essential for our society to grow and prosper. I will leave you with one final thought. Now that you know about these different economic activities, how do you think this understanding will help us study and solve bigger issues our country faces, like employment and unemployment? That's something for you to think about. Thank you for joining me.